Welcome to our Hong Kong Brief program. Today, we're diving into a mix of stories that highlight the challenges and changes happening across the globe, starting with the property market woes in China. It seems like the earnings reports from giants like Country Garden and China Vanke are about to reveal just how much the property slowdown has hit, with a cash crunch and declining sales painting a rather gloomy picture. Meanwhile, over in Hong Kong, the stock market took a bit of a tumble, erasing gains for the week, thanks to some less than stellar corporate earnings. It's a reminder that the financial world can be as unpredictable as the weather in April. Switching gears, we've got a bit of international intrigue as CEOs from around the world, including big names like Apple's Tim Cook, are heading to China's China Development Forum amidst a cloud of uncertainty. Who will they meet? What will they discuss? It's all a bit of a mystery. And speaking of mysteries, the yuan's recent dip has everyone talking. Plus, in a twist that feels straight out of a thriller novel, the US finds itself turning to China for life-saving drugs due to quality lapses in India's pharmaceutical industry. But it's not all dire news. The UK is buzzing with excitement over Japan's fighter jet export plans, and there's a growing push to educate people on avoiding cryptocurrency scams in Asia. Singapore continues to shine as a top financial hub, beating out Hong Kong in a tight race. And in the world of sports and culture, we've got inspiring stories from the triathlon and tennis courts, and a heartwarming tale from a Braille library in Australia aiming to make reading accessible to all. So, as we navigate through these diverse stories, from financial fluctuations and geopolitical maneuvers to inspiring tales of resilience and innovation, it's clear the world keeps spinning with surprises at every turn. Please stay tuned for more detailed content on these stories. Country Garden, Vanke to expose extent of China's property crisis. Bloomberg. Hong Kong stocks slump as corporate earnings disappoint. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong stocks saw their biggest drop in 2 weeks as disappointing earnings results from major companies halted a rally triggered by the U.S. Federal Reserve's dovish stance. The Hang Seng Index fell 1.8% to 16,555.28, erasing all of its gains for the week. The Hang Seng Tech Index also fell 3%. Companies such as Ping An Insurance, CK Asset Holdings, CK Hutchison Holdings, and Meituan all reported lower profits, contributing to the decline. Investors have now shifted their focus back to corporate earnings after positive factors like China's market support measures and the Fed's decision. China's big CEO summit clouded by doubts over policy access. Bloomberg. China's annual China Development Forum, which aims to woo top global executives, is already being overshadowed by speculation over which top leaders they will meet. International CEOs including Apple's Tim Cook, Pfizer's Albert Bourla, and FedEx's Raj Subramaniam are expected to attend, but it is unclear whether Premier Li Qiang will hold a meeting with business chiefs. President Xi Jinping is expected to meet with a number of American business chiefs after the event. The uncertainty comes as the ruling Communist Party's opaque policy-making unsettles investors and as moves to delay or restrict some economic data make it harder for executives to assess China's economy. China's yuan weakens to 4-month low after key level breached. Bloomberg. The onshore yuan has weakened to its lowest level in 4 months, breaking through the key 7.20 per dollar level it had maintained since November. The People's Bank of China, PBOC, has lowered its daily reference rate for the currency by the most since February, indicating that Beijing may be allowing further depreciation as the country's economic recovery remains uncertain. The PBOC has been trying to maintain stability in the yuan by anchoring it with the daily fixing, but recent stress in the currency market, coupled with a rebound in the US dollar, has put pressure on the yuan. India pharma quality lapses force US to look to China for life-saving drugs. Nikkei Asia. A severe shortage in cancer drugs is forcing the US to turn to China, despite efforts to reduce reliance on the country, as lax regulatory oversight in India threatens to reshape the global drug trade. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has halted imports from Indian drug maker Intos's pharmaceutical factory in western India following the discovery of manipulated data and attempts to cover it up. The shortage could result in thousands of deaths. China's Qilu Pharmaceutical has been called in to replace the missing drugs, despite previous concerns over its quality control. UK welcomes Japan's fighter jet export plans, says Deputy PM. Nikkei Asia. The UK's Deputy Prime Minister, Oliver Dowden, has welcomed Japan's decision to ease its defence export regulations, allowing the sale of next-generation fighter aircraft co-developed by the UK, Italy, and Japan to third-party countries. Tokyo's move resolves a key hurdle for the Trinational Global Combat Aircraft Program, GCAP, which is set to begin mass production in 2031. Japan's decision to permit exports of fighter jets produced under the GCAP to 15 countries, including Australia, India, and Indonesia, relaxes its long-standing restrictions on weapons exports. As Asian cryptocurrency scams spike, education is key to combating menace. South China Morning Post. Criminal networks in Myanmar, Cambodia, the Philippines, and other regions in Asia are increasingly targeting inexperienced investors with get-rich-quick scams, particularly in cryptocurrencies. Social media platforms are typically used to advertise supposedly lucrative jobs, drawing victims into the scam. Scammers then exploit the emotional vulnerability of investors, accessing their credentials through compromised private keys and networks. Singapore and Hong Kong have implemented new rules to safeguard digital currency investments, but regulators must remain ahead of scammers to combat the growing number of scams in the Asian market. Singapore still Asia's top financial hub, beating Hong Kong on competitiveness. South China Morning Post. Singapore has maintained its position as the top financial center in Asia, outranking Hong Kong by just 1 point, according to the Global Financial Centers Index. Singapore and Hong Kong ranked third and fourth globally, behind New York and London. The study, which covers 133 financial centers, found that Singapore performed better than Hong Kong in all 5 criteria used to assess competitiveness: business environment, human capital, infrastructure, financial sector development, and reputational and general. In terms of future significance, Asian cities dominated, with Seoul receiving the most mentions followed by Singapore, Dubai, and Hong Kong. Head coach Wright insists starring very positive ahead of Hong Kong World Cup. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong triathlete Jason Ng Tai Long has resumed light training after being hit by a bus during a training ride. The 24-year-old has returned to the sport just weeks after sustaining injuries to the left side of his body after being squeezed against a metal railing. Ng is hoping to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics in the coming months, and his coach, Andrew Wright, said that Ng was in a good place and very positive and that he would not let the accident affect his performance. Wong will do really good, Jir says, after ending Hong Konger's ATP adventure. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong tennis player Coleman Wong Chuk Lam's run at the Miami Open came to an end with a straight sets loss to Serbia's Laszlo Djere. Despite the loss, Wong showed potential and proved he can compete at the top level. Wong entered the tournament as a wild card and came through 2 tough qualifiers, but was unable to utilize his killer serve against Djere. Djere will now face Russia's Karen Khachanov in the second round, while Wong will shift his focus to upcoming challenger events in South Korea and mainland China. For every 100 books a sighted child can access, there's only 5 for a blind child, which this library hopes to change. ABC. The Braille House Library in Brisbane, Australia, is celebrating its 125th anniversary. The not-for-profit library translates, creates, and lends Braille books to blind and vision-impaired readers across the country. It currently offers nearly 8,000 books and e-books, making it the largest Braille collection in Australia. The library is seeking recurring government funding in order to expand its operations and make Braille books more widely available. Braille House also teaches Braille to children and adults who are losing their vision, and prints double vision picture books so that blind children can read along with their sighted parents. Transition finance seen as a crucial tool in the fight against climate change. South China Morning Post. Transition finance, which funds emission reduction projects by companies in carbon-intensive industries, will become increasingly important in Asia due to a significant funding gap and regulatory support, according to experts. The region's decarbonization funding gap is expected to remain large given the scale of investment required. Transition finance can help companies in hard-to-abate sectors access sustainable debt markets and attract investor interest for established and emerging green technologies. However, issuers face reputational risks, and there are challenges in defining which activities deserve transition finance labels. Bill to put U.S.-China Science Pact under new scrutiny passes a House committee. South China Morning Post. The U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee has approved a bill that would increase congressional scrutiny of science and technology agreements between the U.S. State Department and China. The bill would require the State Department to provide detailed information about such agreements to Congress, including their benefits and risks, before pursuing them. If passed, the administration would have to wait 30 days before proceeding with the agreements, during which Congress would assess national security risks and human rights considerations. The bill received unanimous approval from the committee, but no date has been set for a vote on the House floor. Asian stocks set for mixed open, U.S. hits new highs, markets wrap. Bloomberg. Equity futures for Japan rose while those for Australia and Hong Kong fell. The moves followed a sharp rally for a gauge of the region's shares, which touched the highest level in almost 2 years. Hong Kong, a convenient target for Western politicians at election time. SCMP opinion. Hong Kong is one of the safest places in the world, according to Bernard Chan, a Hong Kong businessman and former Executive Council convener. Chan argues that Western media coverage of Hong Kong is often distorted, leading to a misconception that the city is dangerous. He compares the crime rates in Hong Kong to those in major British, European, and American cities, highlighting that Hong Kong is far safer. Chan suggests that as more tourists return to Hong Kong and experience its safety and vibrancy, the perception of the city will change. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.